Welcome to the Be Magnetic podcast, where we ignite deep abundance and step into soul-led success without losing joy, freedom, or peace. This is for the woman who is bored, disconnected, and exhausted trying to win a game she doesn't want to play anymore. If your soul is calling for more flow, more ease, more magic, but you're not sure how to get there, get ready to become magnetic and create a life that is as juicy and abundant as you've always dreamed it could be. Welcome back to the podcast. As you can see and maybe even hear, I am in my new home. This is my first episode recorded from my new office, and it is quite empty still. We're gonna make this whole cozy podcast scene out here, but we need some more time. We need some more time to make this work, and if there is an echo and something, I do apologize. It is still very empty here in my office, so if that affects the sound quality, I'm sorry. I'll try to do as much as we can with the editing and stuff, but this is what we work with for now. So yeah, today I have a really special episode for you guys. I want to talk about how to make business a sacred ritual without sacrificing income, because obviously we all want to make business feel more luxurious, more easygoing, more beautiful, but we also don't want to sacrifice income, right? So today I want to rewrite the rules of success for women and give you the permission to define success and your business module differently. So if you felt called to do things differently, if there's been a gentle or maybe a strong pull towards more ease, more joy, a higher quality of experience when it comes to your business, this episode is for you. So very recently, I have gone through a similar journey process with this, which inspired actually this episode. So for a while now, actually ever since I started to really surrender to the pivot year last year, I did feel this gentle pull emerge of doing business differently. And obviously, since then I have shifted so much in the way I am doing business. But especially in the last, let's say maybe 3-4 months, I have felt that there is more that needs to be shifted in the way I am doing my business, especially when it comes to the podcast and when it comes to the way I'm showing up on social media. And don't get me wrong, the way I'm showing up on social media has so drastically shifted over the last few months and last couple years, and I am so happy with the way it is right now. I feel very content, I feel very authentic, and I'm showing up as who I really am on there, and also in a way that really feels good to me and intentional to me. But still, I did feel this pull to quit, to just stop doing the podcast and stop showing up on social media. And I think that part of it definitely comes from just the life shift that I've been going through, and just the additional demands that are on my plate with having a full-grown family with an 8-year-old and all these things. But I also know that part of it is really true in terms of what my soul craves for the business and the podcast and my social media moving forward. And it has been scary though to lean into this pull, because obviously there is a lot of fears and what ifs and stuff attached to it. And so I just wanted to talk through this, because I know that if I'm going through it, then there is so many more people going through it. And I wanted to use this episode to really even give you a permission slip to do things, and also give you some hands-on food for thought to process this shift as you're going through it, right? So obviously the first thing we need to be talking about is giving us the permission to do things differently, even if it's controversial or unfamiliar. So the shift that I'm going through with my podcast and my social media is really that I feel this calling to do things like so differently, and I'm slightly afraid of leaning into it because I'm like, I have never seen this done before. And so, of course, there's these questions of like, okay, what if it doesn't work? What if people will think that I'm like falling off track? What if, all these scenarios? And it is controversial and it feels very unfamiliar to me because I'm very much so structured. I am the queen of consistency, and this doesn't come hard to me. It is the easiest in the world for me to post every single week, and show up on stories on social media all the time. I have great systems in terms of like making that consistency work in a way that is not overwhelming for me, and ensures that I still have time and space in my schedule for other things. But I don't feel like that is the way I'm supposed to approach creating content anymore. And yeah, it does feel unfamiliar. And so, of course, we need to be honoring those feelings. We need to be honoring the fears that come with doing something completely different, maybe even so different that we've never even seen us done before, but also like honoring the unfamiliarity of like how it just feels to our body, right? But nonetheless, we need to allow these feelings to be present and give ourselves permission to move forward regardless. And again, trust that we can hold the unfamiliarity and the fears and like the insecurities. It's kind of like when a baby starts walking, right? They have no idea what walking feels like. They have no idea how to do it. But yet they get up again and again and again. Even if they fall like 100 times, they get up again and they keep trying, they keep walking, until it becomes so familiar that it is the most normal thing in the world to do it for them, right? And that is kind of like what we need to do with that shift in business as well. Like if we want to make business feel more sacred, feel more like a high quality experience for ourselves and for our clients, and if we want to make it feel more easeful and like juicy on us, then we need to give ourselves permission to go down that path, even if we have no idea what we're doing, even if we have no idea if it works out or if we'll ever learn it or bring this vision to life, because eventually leading business this way will become normal and it will become familiar, and then we have accomplished the vision. But if we don't give ourselves the permission to actually go start on that path, we'll never ever going to see or experience what it's like, right? But of course, we have to like sit down and overcome some of the fears that come with doing things differently as well. And a big fear, I believe, is that we will make less money, or that we'll be less successful. And I see this happen all the time again, especially with entrepreneurs who are considerably successful, so who have a stable income, who have a well-rounded business, and they have caught momentum and they are like considered successful to like standard metrics, I'd say. And they are really afraid of like slowing down or taking like a different route with how they approach business, because they're so tied to they're married with the way they're doing business, because the way they've been doing business has led them to the place where they are, and they're really excited and content about where they are because they basically have the business that they've always dreamed of, but their soul is also like feeling the calling towards something different because they're maybe either exhausted because they've been just like hustling the last months, years to get to this place, or they feel disconnected because maybe like on the outside it looks really fancy and they're actually like making the money and like getting the opportunities that they've always dreamed of, but it's not as fulfilling as they thought it would be. Or they just now have this dip of like, okay, now I've fulfilled my purpose, I've fulfilled my visions, like what's next? And the what next is kind of not revealed itself yet, and they're like purposeless basically. So they feel disconnected, or they just feel bored and like, what's the word? Um yeah, like not like wanting to continue that route, right? They have now reached the goal they've always wanted to reach, that they've worked so hard for, and now they're like, okay, now I'm here, so like, what's next? Like, I don't want to continue this way because it's clearly not fulfilling. I'm kind of like tired out and like bored by like playing this game that I can't ever win because I can't ever get to this place that, I thought, like this feeling, right? The place that we want to get to is a feeling. It's not like necessarily like an income goal or something like that, because we can always get to that. So they're kind of like this, yeah, this like bored, kind of like tired, trying to like win a game that they no longer want to play kind of feeling. And so they feel this pull towards, yeah, like changing things up. But because they've worked so hard and because they've wanted to be where they are now for so long, it is so hard for them to shift things because they're afraid of losing that. And that is such a big fear that comes up with doing things differently, like losing the income, losing the success, slowing down, going backwards. But it is not the case. I've never ever in my life, and I'm the queen of doing things differently, I've never ever in my life done anything differently and gone backwards or lost out on it, on doing things differently. It is simply impossible because life is like an upward spiral. It is like a ladder that you climb up, or like, let's say more like a trail that you climb up to, at the end of the day, get to fulfilling your life's purpose, right? At the end of the day, like the top of the mountain isn't an income goal. It's not like a surface level milestone or anything. It is simply living your life in the best possible way at the end of your life. Being able to say, I've literally lived the life I had to the best of my capacity. And there's probably going to be a lot of like different trails that you're going to go up that mountain, right? And that is why no matter how often you pivot, no matter how often you shift things, do things differently, you're never ever going to go downhill. It just looks different, and your soul would not be calling you to do things differently right now if it was not for your highest good, right? If you feel that pull, if you feel that inspiration, and if it's been lingering there for a while, you're actually holding yourself back. You're actually stagnating your progress and your success by not following that pull, right? So as valid as those fears are, they don't serve you, and they're simply not true. So the simplest way to overcome them is to find a reframe, and I've given it to you right here, right there. All you have to do is try it on for fit. Like, try, if you can, simply like acknowledge that that might be a truth that is also valid, just as much as the truth that you believe right now around how it's gonna make you go downhill. Try it on for fit, run with it for a couple weeks and see what happens. And then when it comes to overcoming fear, as always, as I like to see, just doing the thing will help you overcome the fear the most. And then obviously when it comes to like taking this path of making business a sacred ritual and feel more expansive, more high quality, more beautiful to us and to the people that we serve through it, we have to redefine success and our business vision, right? So if you felt the pull to do things differently to make business feel a little bit more sacred, what does that actually mean to you, right? What does success moving forward mean to you? If you feel like, okay, I'm moving away from those surface level milestones and metrics and ways of defining success, what does success mean to me? Like, how do I want business to look like moving forward, right? I'm doing the same thing right now. I'm sitting down and actually asking myself, how do I want the podcast to look like? How do I want to show up on social media? What does that feel and look like to me moving forward? Like this kind of this pull, this like does nudge, this feeling that emerged out of my heart that's calling me to do things differently. It feels a certain way. And so now we need to lean deeper into it and ask ourselves, okay, what does that practically look like? What are the practical things that need to shift? And what does that look like moving forward? And if you wonder now about like any of the details around like my podcast and social media, if something changes on the podcast, I will let you know first, and I'll probably record like a short extra episode around the podcast and letting you know what's going to be different. But for now, I'm still figuring out how to redefine what making the podcast more sacred really means to me. So of course I want to leave you with some inspiration and want to talk a bit about what does it actually mean to make your business a sacred ritual or experience. And of course, this is just like my way of looking at things, but I hope that it gives you some inspiration and, gives you some food for thought to come up with your own definition, your own vision of what a sacred business looks like to you. So to me, it simply means that there is no pressure, that I'm not doing the things for the money or for the recognition, for the approval, but that I am doing the things because I genuinely want to do them, because I feel inspired to share, because there is a fire inside of me that is like, I really want to complete this project. And I have an incredible friend who I'm looking up towards so much, and she is the deepest embodiment of doing that. So every project she calls into life, she just feels genuinely inspired to do that, and she does take her time to actually bring it to life, to actually let the seed grow until it's fully emerged. And she doesn't rush things. She doesn't put pressure on herself to finish a project. She doesn't she just lets it grow in its own time. And that to me is what making business a sacred ritual feels like. It looks like, having an idea for an offer, a episode, a social media post, and instead of like rushing to create it because it has to be out at a certain date at a certain time, I want to like give time to the things and to let the things flourish and grow in its own time. Make sure that they are like high quality and beautiful and not rushed and not pressured. And at the same time, I also don't want to put pressure, or I don't put pressure on myself to do anything for the money, right? Whenever I decide to open new spaces in one of my mentorship programs or even with single sessions, I don't ever do that because I need the money, but I do it because I genuinely feel open and ready to hold space for more people. By the way, if you do want to dive deeper into this whole topic of creating a business that is really soul-led, and that stems from like the strategies and the way you're showing up in your business stem from a place of true inspiration and what actually feels good and aligned to you, I highly, highly encourage you to have a look at my soul-led one-off sessions. We dive deep into just unraveling all the strategies, the pieces of your business that don't feel aligned, and come back to, again, redefining what success and business moving forward looks like to you, and like combine that with strategies and practices that actually align with how you want to feel leading your business. So if you feel like you need help, like support, guidance with what we've discussed today, the link is in my show notes. You can check it out. It's a one-off session and I would love to hold space for you in that. But yeah, a sacred business to me feels like having the time, having the space, having the freedom to flow, to let things unfold rather than making them happen. It also means that I can just spend some time longer on something because there is more to say or more to be created around it, and I don't have to finish when the time is up, basically, right? Or also the vice versa, like I don't have to keep pushing myself to do more if I already feel complete. And that very much is so some of the shifts that I've already implemented when it comes to like social media and content creation, where before I would have just had my list of things that I needed to be created because that was the amount of times I needed or said I would post, and then I would just like push through and like create all this stuff. That's not what I'm doing anymore, right? For like 1.5 years now, I have been just finishing my content creation whenever I felt done, not whenever I had the posts ready that I said I was gonna create, right? And sometimes I create more, sometimes I create less, and that is a beautiful divine experience of how business should be, in my opinion. It also means I'm not doing launches anymore, right? Or I get the permission to just half the spots that I've said I'm gonna hold, right? A while ago, I also said to some of my mentors that I'm gonna hold 5 spots in my long-term mentorship next year, and I've realized throughout the process of becoming a mom and like starting this family and moving and everything that I don't have the capacity to hold 5 clients long term. So I reduced that to 3, and it feels so much better, right? And that is also making business feel sacred, because now I feel like my business is actually supporting me and holding me in the best possible ways. It also means I'm actually like taking the time and space to ground in, to clear my energy before I'm hopping on client calls or before I'm doing a podcast, so that I ensure that I transmit the best, most amazing energy to you guys, and not like do things in between other tasks with less high of a quality energy transmitting from me, basically. So those are just some ideas, but I do feel that you have a pretty clear idea, or at least feeling inside of your heart already, what a sacred business feels or looks like to you. So I highly, highly empower you to write that down, to maybe journal it out, to make a vision board, a bullet list, whatever works for you. And if you need an even deeper kind of guidance, or you just don't know how to start, I have a free soul strategy checklist, and it's basically a checklist that walks you through all types of areas in your business where you can kind of like reflect upon what is feeling in alignment and what's not feeling in alignment, and kind of make some X's and crosses and stuff like that. So that might also be a great way for you to reflect further on what works in your business and what doesn't work, and maybe also gives you some ideas on how you can make your business a bit more sacred, a bit more joyful and beautiful. And if you want that, it's also linked in the show notes below. I want you to take just one thing from today's episode and apply it to your life. I want you to just, whether it's giving yourself the permission to finally do the things that you feel called to do, or whether it's writing the list, or whether you already have a very clear idea of what would make your business feel more sacred and more beautiful, like go and do that. And for accountability, you can DM me, Solet, and I will hold you to your word. And if you feel called to dive deeper into some of the other episodes, make sure to come back the next couple weeks, as we are going to have some more episodes around that topic lined up. So in, I believe, 2 weeks, there'll be an episode on feminine sales tactics. And then a couple more weeks from now, there'll be an episode on flow-based business strategies for long-term success. So if that topic interests you, make sure to come back soon. And then I also have, of course, so many other epic episodes on those topics as well on the podcast. So feel free to browse if you want to keep listening. If not, check out the show notes for the freebie and the session that I've mentioned. And yeah, of course, as always, let me know your feedback. Also, let me know what a sacred business looks and feels like to you. I'm very curious. And then I see you next time. Bye.